Our story, our history, celebrating Hispanic heritage. Sponsored by HEB.
So no surprise here, but the majority of TikTok users are between 18 and 34. Our next guest has already lived 100 lives, and at 82 years old, he has a lot to share. From working on a farm as a child to owning a carpet company, a music business career, and even spending some time in prison. Alejandro Ceballos, also known as Jefe, which means boss in Spanish, is sharing the lessons he learned in life with younger generations.
I've learned so much from my mother. Man, she was such a beautiful lady. May she rest in peace. But let me tell you, I never forgot. And she used to tell me this. I want to tell you one thing, my son. Please, never go against the family.
Over 500,000 followers on TikTok. Check in to hear El Jefe talk about everything from fashion, music, family, and how to manage tough times. He's bilingual, so he delivers TikTok in both Spanish and English. Joining us with how his social media journey got started is El Jefe, the boss. Good morning.
Good morning. Nice to be here with y'all.
I saw you react to that post right there when you were talking about your mother.
It's very touchy. It hurts. It still hurts.
Yeah.
It hurts a lot because I love her so much and I miss her so much.
Yeah.
We all do, but me personally, she never failed me in any way. She backed me up to the end of her life.
What's the coolest thing about that is you're now able to keep her alive through.
I'm always going to keep her alive, you
Yeah.
know, and that
she's
is,
helping other people through the wisdom she
of
shared
course.
with you.
That is my advice to other people too. You know, you can't bring them back, but you can keep them alive in your mind.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I do.
Sometimes people have a lot of power in death, and she has even more in this way than in life because you're able to share with so many other people. She becomes mother to so many other people. You were born in a small town, Big Spring, Texas, family of 15 brothers and sisters. She was a good mama, wasn't she? 15 brothers and sisters. What are some of your earliest memories of life?
Well, I remember since I was 4 years old, and that's when I composed my first verse. You know, I feel that I'm gifted as a composer, a poetic composer. And I remember that verse. But from there on, I remember, you know, writing the books and all that at 4 years old. And me and the other kids, and with my father and the friends, and the other kids, you know, they left a second on top of the little bull, and they get up crying, calling their mama, and I left a second also myself, and I get up crying, telling my daddy to hold them again, put me back in there. I learned not to give up since I was growing up.
You also learned a great work ethic. You were working the farm at early as 6 years old, and you never knew what the next day would bring, whether it was good or bad, but you were preparing yourself to deal with it. You moved to Houston, went into the carpet business.
I sure did. You know, at that time, the farm, yes, I grew up with, I learned a lot from my father and my brothers in the fields. I wanted to be like them, and because I love them so much. And anyway, I came to Houston when I was 24 years old, and I went into the carpet business, and we learned the trade. It was 100% like day and night different from the farm to a big city. During those days, it was over 1 million people in Houston.
But it also taught you a number of lessons, and those lessons were, you know, sometimes you have failures, sometimes you have successes. You learn sometimes the most from the failures, right? And you learn the most from the toughest times. You had gone into the music business. You were a promoter for some musicians. They got into some trouble, and up in Michigan, you went up to straighten things out, and somehow you ended up going to prison.
Well, you know, and I don't blame anybody. I mean, you know, they you know that they were talking to whatever the business was, they were talking to the wrong person, and then they called me, and I flew over there, and you know, I just went over there into the hands of the DEA. And you know, I took the blame, and I don't blame anybody. I'm known to taking the blame.
Yeah. Let me tell. There are a number of things that you post that tell us what your heart is and who you are. Let me tell you what an amazing man this is. So he goes to prison and he sees the glass half full. He made friends and became the president of the Latino club in prison. That's pretty awesome that you said, okay, I'm going to make the best of it while I'm here. But at that time, things happened while you were in. Your father died, and you found music since you were 4 years old as a therapy in a sense. And so you wrote a song about him.
Yes, I wrote a song about my father. Yeah. And you know, I sing it every once in a while in his ear. and there, and of course, when I was there in prison, they elected me the president of the Latinos, and I did real good for all of them. Whatever you get in there, they were the other president of the races there, but it have to be for everybody. And I did great for everybody there.
As I mentioned earlier, you have so much wisdom, and that can be shared with so many people. And there's only one way today to do that in a big way, and that, of course, is through social media. Your daughter is here today. Cammie, come on over here. So obviously, you grew up hearing all these wonderful stories, and his guidance was shared with you as well. What made you decide to put him on TikTok?
Well, I knew that there was really no one in the world like my dad. And my dad is the life of the party. He's always been the life of the party.
Yeah.
And I really felt like it would just be a great platform to be able to share the advice that he would give us and that he continues to give us. And he's just got this loyalty about him that you don't really see in this lifetime. And I wanted people just to get a little taste of who he was. There's a roughness to him, but there's just that soft loyalty that you just don't see in life.
Yeah.
And I just thought it would be a great thing to share it with people.
Now, when she came to you and said, Papa, you got to be on TikTok, did you know what TikTok was?
I didn't know what TikTok. I thought TikTok was somebody mowing a little tractor there. TikTok. But I don't, and that's what I thought, because I never did have those toys myself. But then I grew up, I know the little kids playing with the little tractors. They go, TikTok.
It's changed since then. Yeah, right. And then what was your thought when you started looking at it, and then people were following you, but more than that, people started to ask you for advice.
Yes.
And speaking of, we talked about your stint in prison. One of the questions that one of your followers had recently, they said their brother was on a bad path. What can they do?
Well, I just give the advice to try to get him on the right direction, And this young, not everybody, but mine is more to the younger generation, to teach them what I've been through, and this is what helped me, and I hope that they would help them if they follow that, Yeah. So, you have to be persistent, and the younger generation, I just tell your brother, stay away from, find different friends, find different things to do. Remember that you're not by yourself. People love you. You need to find yourself.
Yeah.
And then when you know who you are, you can continue forward. You go down, you get up. You pull yourself up.
Yeah.
And down again, you pull yourself up again. I did a video where I do my pull-ups. And they were very amazed to see that in an 82-year-old man. But this type of pull-ups, they're harder and painful than the regular pull-up, but you have to do it.
Yeah.
It's about you.
And Cammie, I think a lot of us who have parents who live up to the full name of being parents, we take it for granted because we think that's what parents are supposed to be. When you see an uptick in comments of so many people asking just such personal, questions and asking for help, what does that tell you about our younger generation out there and the importance of what you're doing with your dad?
It just, number one, it tells me that we need to value our parents, and number two, it just tells me that we need advice, no matter how old we are, because we have teenagers asking for advice, and we have people that are my dad's age asking for advice, and we need to be able to be there for one another, and to be able to provide that advice. And I just think that his advice is so unique and so powerful, and he doesn't cut to the chase. He's very direct, and I think it appeals to a lot of people.
Yeah. And so you deal with lots of heavy things, but you also deal with stuff like fashion. So tell me about the fashion action with you. Yeah.
The way I dress, I get a lot of comments. The jefe, even my sombrero. What do you shape it? What do you call that? Jefe style. The shirts, I have different types. Well, I haven't tailored that way. My shoes, and even the regulars and all of that. They just love the way I dress, and I think the way I look also. But and I just tell them, this is my style, and then if you like it, it's not that I just go over there especially to buy this. She find me all kind of different shirts, and then we tailor them to my liking.
We cater them to my liking. Right. Well, can I just tell you this? We love you. I mentioned earlier that you have lived many lifetimes already. We could spend a lifetime talking to you. So just make a promise. Jefe, you going to come back to Great Day sometime?
All you got to do is just give us a call.
Okay, I'm gonna give you a call. And Cammie, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And let's say good morning to your cousin Annalisa.
Yeah,
I met
yeah.
her several months ago, and she's like, hey, my uncle's gonna be on the show. Now, when people say that, when people get famous, I was like, is she really your? You said yes, she is. So Annalisa, good morning.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Before you so, I'd like to say one thing, okay? And can I stand up?
Sure.
Yeah.
Let our director know you're standing up. Okay, cut your head off, but you're standing up. Okay, there you go.
This is what I'm going to say. Have a great day, Houston.
Oh, yes. Okay, we love it. All right. Me gusta mucho. Thank you so
Igualmente,
much.
same here.
Oh, my God. I love you. To follow El Jefe on TikTok, visit greatdayhouston.com, and we will connect you to his account.
We're
All right.
looking forward to come back to y'all again.
Yes. Oh, my. I think he's going to be hosting the show, if you want to be honest about it. Okay.